Hi everybody. This week we're talking about prophetic friendships. We've had a chance to look at the past of friendships and the way they work, some features and characteristics, and now we're taking a look at modern friendships and how they've evolved. So we look a little bit more specifically at the differences between male-to-male friendships and female-to-female friendships. And some of the important and key points in this chapter have to do with those characteristics. And so the first thing that I wanted to highlight in this chapter was the opening scene in Thelma and Louise. This movie is kind of a powerful point in that at the end of the film, the two women are so closely related and feel so much that they have a soul friendship. They willingly commit suicide. So this begs the question, how far will you go for a friend? Is your friend important enough that you will die for that friend? And so I wanted to highlight that particularly because this is something I know you all think about being in the line of work that you're in. And so you find yourself committing to a lifestyle in which you would die for your battle buddies. And so I know this is something that you've given a lot of thought and that you've made a lot of sacrifices to uphold these values. The other thing that I wanted to highlight in this chapter is how friendships were formed between women to fight oppression. And I thought that was a really interesting point about female friendships during this time. And of course, several different stories were highlighted in the chapter regarding fighting oppression. And I think we can ask ourselves, is this a type of utility friendship? When you're no longer fighting oppression, does this friendship still last? And some of those issues are addressed in the chapter, so I just wanted to draw your attention to those. And because we don't comment on that particular part of the chapter, I wanted you to feel free to comment on that here in this thread if you wanted to focus a little bit more on those types of female friendships. And so one of the main things we're talking about this week is homosexual relationships, particularly between gay men, and how they may or may not have contributed to an increase in deeper friendships between men. Part of the chapter describes how they may have been a hindrance in creating a kind of homophobia that makes affection between heterosexual men taboo or makes them feel uncomfortable because they think they're going to be perceived as homosexuals. In another part of the chapter, it talks about how homosexual relationships between gay men have actually helped friendships develop. In fact, they talk about how because gay men have been ostracized from society and not accepted, men have created these friendships, these stronger bonds in order to fight their type of oppression, not dissimilar to some of the different kinds of oppressions that women had been fighting. And so some of the key points are then that homosexual men have deeper friendships because they allow themselves to be more emotionally open. And so I wanted you to think about whether or not this is actually true. So one thing that we really want to do in philosophy is question everything that we come across. It's very easy to read a textbook and think that there are so many great points and just sort of blindly agree with them. But a part of philosophy, as I outlined in my critical thinking video, is questioning to think critically about some of these questions. And one thing in particular that I wanted to highlight, and that many of you commented on, is that this tendency to judge other people in regards to the types of character traits they usually we tend to look at character traits as being either masculine or feminine. And so we discuss things like women are emotional, or men are reasonable, or they think rationally, or women that wear men's clothes must be lesbians. And these are some of the stereotypes that we'll encounter in our society. And so I think it's a good idea to take a look at some of these stereotypes, these masculine traits that we see, these feminine traits, and maybe not apply them in such a black or white fashion, but instead on a continuum. And that is really where society is heading. In a gender and text class that I recently took, we studied a lot of different male and female authors, and the connotations that are associated with various words that tend to be masculinized or feminized, features that tend to be masculinized or feminized. For example, by your looks or particular mannerisms that you hold, and determine whether or not you have more masculine or feminine qualities because of your own character traits and personality traits. And so anyway, that's just a little food for thought for this week, and I hope you'll enjoy the video and make some comments if you wish to. Thanks.